Have you ever just looked at a simple pond or a patch of forest and really wondered what's actually going on in there? Because it's so much more than just a bunch of plants and animals, right? It's this incredibly complex, interconnected world. And today, we're going to dive right in, go beneath the surface, and untangle the amazing science of ecosystem. So, take a look at this. At first glance, it seems pretty straightforward. A quiet pond, some plants, a frog chilling on a lily pad. Looks peaceful. Maybe even a little simple. But that's just what we see on the surface.
But what if I told you that what you're really looking at is a bustling city? A city with its own economy, its own power grid, and even its own recycling program. It's a hidden world with a really delicate set of rules that governs every single thing living there.
So, let's do exactly that. We're going to investigate this world in a pond. And as we do, we'll start to uncover these fundamental connections that don't just define this one little pond, but pretty much all of life on Earth. So this hidden world, what's the official name for it? Well, it's called an ecosystem, and that name is actually perfect. It comes from the Greek word oikos, which means house, and that's exactly what it is. It's a shared home, a community where all the living things interact with each other and with all the non-living stuff around them. Sunlight, air, water, the soil itself.
All right, to figure out how this house works, we need to meet who lives there, the living or biotic components. I think it helps to imagine them as the cast of characters in a really complicated unfolding play.
First up, let's meet the producers. I like to call them the chefs of the ecosystem. These are organisms like plants that literally make their own food. They are total self-starters, using sunlight to cook up a meal from just carbon dioxide and water. Through that process, we all learned about photosynthesis. In this right here shows you exactly what I mean. In our pond, these green plants are the foundation of everything. They're the primary source of energy for every other living thing in this environment. Seriously, without them, the whole system would just fall apart. Okay, so if the producers are the chefs, then who's next? The consumers, of course. They're the customers. These are all the organisms that can't make their own food, so they get their energy by eating other organisms. And this group includes everybody from the plant-eating herbivores to the meat-eating carnivores. And our little frog friend here is a perfect example of a consumer. He's definitely not making his own food. He's just sitting there waiting for an insect to fly by. He's a really crucial link in the chain that keeps energy moving through this whole pond ecosystem. And finally, we meet the unsung heroes of the whole operation, the decomposers. Think of them as the ecosystem's cleanup and recycling crew. These guys, like bacteria and fungi, work around the clock to break down all the dead stuff, returning all those essential nutrients back into the environment for the producers to use all over again. It's a perfect cycle. You notice how this diagram puts the decomposers at the very bottom, but they're connected to every other level? That's a great way to picture it, because it reminds us that they're always working, making sure absolutely nothing goes to waste. They're the engine that keeps the entire cycle going. Okay, so we've met all the players. Now let's see how they all interact. And really, the most basic interaction in any ecosystem is simply who eats whom. This creates what we call a food chain, which is really just a map of the path that energy takes as it moves through the system. Okay, so let's break down a super simple chain. Step 1, it all starts with a producer, in this case, grass. Easy enough. Then, step 2, a primary consumer, like a grasshopper, comes along and munches on that grass. The energy moves up a level. Step 3, along comes our frog, a secondary consumer, and zap, it eats the grasshopper. And then, maybe a snake, our tertiary consumer, slithers by and eats the frog. See that? It's this clean, straight line of energy just moving from one thing to the next. Now, each one of these steps has a fancy scientific name. It's called a trophic level. So the producer is level 1, the primary consumer is level 2, and you just go up from there. At the end of the day, a food chain is just a simple map that traces how energy moves up through all these different trophic levels. So a simple, straight line. It's all very neat, very tidy, and it's a great way to get the basic idea. But here's the thing. It's not quite the whole story. Because, let's be real, in the real world, nature is almost never this simple. I mean, a snake might eat a frog, sure, but it could also eat a mouse. And a frog doesn't only eat grasshoppers. The reality is so much messier and, honestly, way more interesting. This is what it actually looks like. It's not a single chain, it's a food web. It's this incredibly complex network of all these different food chains all tangled up and interconnected. The fox doesn't just eat the rabbit, maybe the owl eats the rabbit too. Everything is connected in all these overlapping ways. And you know what? This messiness, this complexity, is actually a massive advantage. It's what builds resilience into the system. Think about it. If the rabbit population suddenly drops for some reason, the fox isn't going to starve. Nope. It can just switch over to eating mice or birds. This whole network of options, it creates stability. It makes the entire ecosystem so much stronger than one single fragile chain that could break at any point. So, we've spent a lot of time talking about the living players, but they don't just exist in some empty space. They need a stage to perform on, right? And that stage is built from all the non-living or abiotic parts of the ecosystem. Let's just make this super clear. Biotic components are all the living things, the plants, the animals, the decomposers. Abiotic components are all the non-living things that make life possible. Sunlight, air, water, soil, even temperature. You've got the players and you've got the stage. You can't have the play without both.
And believe me, this stage is not just a passive backdrop, it basically sets all the rules for the game. Sunlight provides the raw energy for everything to get started. The air gives us carbon dioxide for the plants and oxygen for the animals. Water is, well, it's essential for all life as we know it. And the soil, it provides the anchor and all the nutrients for the producers to even get started. So we have the players and we have the stage. And what we've really discovered is that they are all locked together in this delicate, really intricate dance. Every single piece of this puzzle matters. And this brings us to a really powerful thought from our source material. It says there is an absolute need today to assist nature by not disturbing its integrity. It's a pretty profound reminder that while these systems can be strong, they are also incredibly delicate. One tiny disturbance can send ripples across the entire web. So the next time you walk past a park, or a puddle after it rains, or even just look at a potted plant on your windowsill, I want you to take a closer look. Now that you know the rules of the game, what hidden ecosystems will you start to notice today?